Alright, let's install the belt drive disc silencer kit. So hopefully everybody knows how to raise their playfield up. And this is the mechanism right here in the middle of the playfield. I've already removed almost all the screws on mine. So you just quarter inch bit or a Phillips drive and you'll be able to remove all the screws. There's two hidden behind the motor there. After you're done removing the screws, or when you've removed 7 of them, hold the whole mechanism before you take the last one out because it is going to want to fall. And before you do that, unplug this plug that's coming from the motor and this plug that's going to the relay board. And this can just hang there, unscrew all the screws, and then this whole mechanism will just pull out of the playfield, take it over to your workbench, and we'll replace the components. Alright, now that you have the whole assembly out of the game, we'll just take it apart and replace the gears. First, this screw has to come off. I would just hold the disc while you're doing that. It's a Phillips or a 1/4 inch bit. Once you pull that out of the main disc, the disc will come free, and then you can just set this to the side. And then you'll want to take the gear off the motor. This is I think it's a 1.5 millimeter, yeah, H1.5 hex bit. You just loosen the set screw. It's in one of the 4 holes on the side. You just got to find which one. Mine's already sticking out because I've loosened it, but yours won't be sticking out. So you just want to find which hole it's in and loosen it up. So you can get a view of that. And then I would use something like some needle nose pliers to just give it a little pressure from underneath and pop it off. Then you can set that aside. We'll want to loosen the 2 screws here so the motor is able to be moved, and we'll put in the new small gear that just pops down right over the existing motor shaft there. And on the side of this one there is a 1.3 millimeter hex head set screw. So let me change up my bit here, and you'll just want to tighten that down. It does not need to be extremely tight, just enough to keep this little gear on. Leave the motor loose, and then we'll put the big gear on and put it all together. So on the disc side of things, you're going to take the large gear that comes with the kit, and it goes with the lip side, or the built up side down, the lip side sticking out. So it ends up like this, and just make sure it's pushed all the way against the disc. You can line up these holes however you want. I lined them up to the cross of the supports there, and we're going to drill some holes. Alternate installation is to use some 2-part epoxy to adhere this if you don't want to drill holes. I think it's not a big modification to drill the holes in here. You can see they're going to be invisible whether you take this mod out or not. You won't see them from the top side, and can't even see them from the bottom side since everything's hidden. Just drill the holes straight through using this as a template. Just center the bit on the hole, drill through. As long as you drill vertically, it should not hit the disc at all. It would just go through the gear lip there, and then you'll put the 4 screws in. They should also not be snugged down too tightly. Just gotta line mine up. Just enough, just so it's snug. The disc has no pressure really pulling down on it, just to the side, and so I've tested it many times without any screws in at all. It was such a close fit, but I would suggest just tightening up just so it's snug, all 4 screws, and then you're ready to put this back together. So we'll use, of course, the belt that came with the kit. And what you'll want to do is probably the easiest installation method is to put this screw back through, center the disc on the screw, and just give it a few turns. I mean, you can even snug it up all the way. You'll still want to tighten this when we're done. Just snug. It doesn't have to be very tight. And then once this is like this and the motor is still loose here, you'll be able to thread the belt on. And the easiest way I've found is to thread it along the big gear. Of course, it's going to go below the existing gear that's on the outside of the big disc, and just slot into the new gear that you added. like that, even here. So then when you're done with that, you should have just enough belt here, right, to get it over the small gear with the motor loose. So with the motor loose, you can just fit it over there, and it should stay pretty much in place from that point. Get some views of it there. And then what you're going to do to tension it is, I would say, take one screw from the motor and put it back, I think as far as it can go. It's probably a good starting point. Tighten that down. I would give it moderate pressure. It's metal into metal. It's going to be fine, but you may want to leave it a little loose until you can tip the motor, use the motor to twist on that screw to give some tension to the belt. The belt does not need a lot of tension. In fact, you may even start with the screw just halfway on that slot, and you'll be able to see, like, you can start turning it and see that there's enough tension there to hold it. I have this screw all the way forward still, and there's still enough tension to turn it. It should have a little more than that, I think. You don't want it to be so floppy, so just turn the motor a little bit so this screw backs towards the outside just a hair, and you'll be able to see, like, it's pressable, but not extremely, you know, it's not like a guitar string, but also it's not so flimsy that you can just press it right in there. The only thing that will happen if it's too loose, obviously, is that it could skip some gears. You don't want that happening necessarily, but too tight and it will bind up the whole mechanism. You want it just tight enough. Obviously, once it's in the game, you can adjust the height. We'll use this big nut to loosen, and then you use the center shaft to raise and lower. I don't know if you can see it, but there the disc is going up and the disc is going down. So you use that to raise and lower the disc when you put it in the game, and then you'll also use these 8 screws to put the screws in, but just loosely, so you can center this in the hole back in the game. So put maybe 4 screws in, just very loose, center it in the game, you know, look on the playfield while the playfield is still raised, maybe tighten them a little bit, put the other ones in, you know, just do some quick checking back and forth, because basically, you know, it's up to those screws where this is within the hole in the playfield. And then of course you can use this to raise and lower the disc, so it's, I would say, just a hair below level. You don't want the ball catching on the lip of the disc. And then once you're done, just tighten this white nut back up and plug the 2 plugs back in, and you should be good to go. We're going to be including these silicone rubber pads that you can put on the feet. It adds a nice little vibration insulation from the whole entire mechanism to the game. You'll just cut the strips to fit, put them over. I've tried a couple different methods. You can use a drill bit. Actually, I think it's maybe like a 1/4 inch. I don't know, I don't have it in front of me, but you can drill through these. If you do it pretty quick, it will take all the material with it, or you can use like a hobby knife to cut the holes out, and probably could do it without cutting the holes out as well.